Charleston this morning. Joining the conversation this morning, senior fellow at the National Taxpayers Union and Forward Strategies president, Mattie Duppler, is here. Fox Business's Dagan McDowell and PwC partner Mitch Rochelle. What a night. It was one big hot mess, in my view. Yeah, I mean, everybody was talking at once. The moderators couldn't get it under control. And Elizabeth Warren got so much more time, in my view, as a viewer, as anybody else. She kept interrupting everybody.
And she had the battering ram to hit Mayor Bloomberg over and over and over again. And she kept getting granted it anytime she wanted.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, remember, South Carolina is coming up on Saturday. So someone who had a good night, I think, was Joe Biden. Someone unplugged him and plugged him back in. He finally was able to piece together a sentence on stage, seemed like he might be an alternative for people who are looking for a moderate in the race. And this is really Elizabeth Warren's problem, right? She has to differentiate herself from Sanders because they're the two most progressive people running in the race. And with Sanders having commanding lead, I don't think she did that last night. I think she showed up and she basically agreed with Sanders on policy, but wanted to point out that he couldn't beat Trump. It did not seem to be a compelling argument in performance from her.
She was on that stage to become Bernie Sanders' running mate very clearly, because anybody with even a smattering of experience in politics would say, okay, last time you attacked Mike Bloomberg and you came in, what, fourth in the Nevada caucuses? You didn't even make a dent. And she's really not anywhere in some of the biggest states, not just in South Carolina, but on Super Tuesday as well. So why was she up there? And by the way, to any of those candidates, do you think that putting your hand in the air repeatedly makes you look presidential?
Oh my God.
Put your hand down.
Right.
The biggest losers were the moderators, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, it's not a chat fest.
Right.
You have to take control of these people, because there were large chunks of the night that sounded like
You didn't hear anything because they were all screaming at each other.
Coming from somebody who's done essentially talk shows or panel shows for 20 years. Somebody needs to be in charge. Nobody was.
You're absolutely right. But you say Biden had a good night. I felt like a couple of times he forgot what he was saying in the middle of what he was saying. Even when he said, why am I stopping? I think he actually stopped because he forgot what he was saying.
Well, and let's be clear, the bar was very low for Joe Biden. I mean, earlier this week, he said he was running for Senate at an event. He's got a history of misspeaking. So my argument simply is that South Carolina is Joe Biden's to lose, and that's why that debate was so important for him last night, was to really have at least a presence on that stage, and I think he accomplished that.
The only problem is his presence on social media was this huge gaffe where he said that firearms have killed more than half the U.S. population since 2007. The number that he threw out was roughly half the American population.
Yeah, that's wild.
Unbelievable. Meanwhile, we've got the next round. I mean, are they all going to still be on that stage in terms of the next round and where this goes? When are people going to start dropping out?
I attribute a lot of the yelling and screaming to this was their last opportunity to make a point. And that's why their teams were saying, get your points in, because if you don't do it now, you're not going to get another chance.
And that's a question for the DNC. Remember, they changed the debate rules so Bloomberg could make it on that stage. And the result is a chaotic event for all the people involved.
So do you think Bloomberg had a good night?
Better than last time. But again, that's all he needed, because he's not on the ballot this Saturday. He doesn't start getting on the ballot until Tuesday.
The only way it could have been worse for him after that first debate face plant was the only way it could be worse if he showed up at that debate wearing like a MAGA hat and a God Squad t-shirt, maybe with a Dan Wesson 1911 strapped to his hip.
They didn't look like they were very presidential. I agree with you on that. Let's look at markets for a second, because we got another sell-off.